speaking of, getting out there in the world, I think one of the people who's really and truly done a spectacular job of speaking to the world, and particularly to Americans, but everybody around the world is looking at us going, whoa, what's this with the 1%? What's this with the Koch brothers? I mean, it's like people all around the world are starting to figure this stuff out because of the efforts of Robert Greenwald, the filmmaker, political activist, founder of Brave New Films. He has a new project, Who Are the 1%? Let the voting begin. You can find it over at whoarethe1%.com. Robert, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be with you, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
All your listeners.
And the same to you, sir. And so tell us about whoarethe1%.com.
Who Are the 1% obviously was inspired by the wonderful, courageous folks at Occupy. And what we've been thinking about, what we always try to think about at Brave New Foundation is what can we do, how can we help, how can we amplify, how can we tell a story. And what became clear after the initial period of time was that there was a real opportunity to let people know who the 1% are. And what we make, and we made it in the form of a voting because that's always fun to do, but the rules were very simple. They had to technically and be in the 1% financially, and they had to be using their money and their power to step on the backs of the other 99%. Because, in fact, there are people with money who are not doing that. But unfortunately, sadly, tragically, we know there are hundreds. We got over 5,000 submissions, Tom, from people suggesting who should be in the 1%.
Yikes.
We've boiled it down to 30, and if you go to whoarethe1%.com, you can see them. And you see them, there's little facts about them, and you get an opportunity to vote.
And this is the digit 1, Who Are the 1%, digit 1,
yes.
Who Are the digit 1%.com.
Right, yes, thank you. And maybe no surprise, but right now Rupert Murdoch is in the lead.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of this nation's Silvio Berlusconi,
Yes, well said. And then some others, the Koch brothers obviously are up there, but there are some that are lesser known. And one of the reasons for the voting, again, even though it's done in a satirical manner, the facts are accurate. We want people, and you do this all the time in your books, in your writing, in your shows, we want people to connect the dots, to understand how the system works, how these men, and they're all men, are using their money and their wealth to game the system, and literally what they're doing. So each time you vote for one of these guys, whether it's Jamie Dixon or it's Paul Singer, a Elliott hedge fund management guy who buys cheap debt from the Congo and then makes them pay full prices for it. He then uses the money he makes to support the Swift boat veterans. Each of them, it provides you capsule facts that Jesse and the team spent an intense month researching and finding so that people could have access to the facts, because the facts are on our side here.
Yeah, this is remarkable work that you're doing, and whoarethe1%.com, and also bravenewfilms.org. I mean, there's such a spectrum, such a breadth and depth to your work, Robert Greenwald. You are one of the most impressive guys out there, and your organization in what you have done, whether it was Rethink Afghanistan, the initial stuff against the war in Iraq, the healthcare issues, now Who Are the 1%? It is absolutely brilliant. I'm just curious, is Stephen J. Hemsley, the head of United Healthcare, who has now made almost $1 billion in his, I think, 7 or 8 years running, he's almost beat his mentor, Dollar Bill McGuire, who took $1.78 billion as CEO of United Healthcare in 10 years. Is he on the list?
Aren't these numbers extraordinary? Let me look through it. I had them memorized, and then at the last moment there were changes. We added a bunch of the war profiteers.
Yeah, he's my favorite because he's making every penny by saying to somebody, no, you can't have that operation. No, your child won't qualify for that treatment. And most of his compensation, and a lot of these guys, as you well know, they say, well, what's your salary? Oh, it's $3 million a year. And then the media takes that number, and they fail to note that well, he also made $95 million in stock options, right? Which when he rolls them over and redeems them, he'll pay 15% income tax on rather than 35%, like the rest of us who, if we had that kind of money.
Yeah, the way that somebody made a comment that the United States tax system is the greatest transfer of wealth to an elite of any country in the world. Now, I don't know if that's accurate, but boy, it's sure damn close, and it's a legal way that the 1% are transferring money. And every time they work for a politician, every time they insist on laws that benefit them, what they are doing are literally transferring dollars into their pockets. And you might ask, you know, you look at this list of 30, Tom, and you'd say, how much money does anybody need? What is this addiction? How many hundreds of millions or billions of dollars? And the opportunity to do good, and yet time after time, this dirty 30, as we call them, are using their opportunities to do more that's harming us, harming our country, and honestly harming democracy in a profound way.
Yeah. It was President Harding in 1921 who first invented the capitalist gains tax so that people who earn their living as capitalists, in other words on investments, pay a lower tax rate than people who earn their living by the sweat of their brow. And the only time that the capitalist gains tax and the worker income tax have been the same, oddly enough, ironically enough, was during 2 years of the Reagan administration.
Oh, really?
But it was President Harding in 1921 who started that. Anyhow, the who are the 1%, digit1%.com. Check it out. Robert Greenwald, thank you so much, Robert.